A mochi moment from Mark, who writes, I just want to thank you for making GLP-1s affordable. What would have been over $1,000 a month is just $99 a month with Mochi. Money shouldn't be a barrier to healthy weight. 3 months in, and I have smaller jeans and a bigger wallet. You're the best. Thanks, Mark. I'm Myra Ahmed, founder of Mochi Health. To find your Mochi moment, visit joinmochi.com.
Mark is a Mochi member compensated for his story.
This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Shopify. Starting a business is filled with a lot of what-ifs. What if I fail? What if nobody listens to the podcast? What if nobody cares? It can definitely be hard to get over that doubt and uncertainty, but making that leap was one of the best things I've ever done, and it's great to know that I'm not alone with a business partner like Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Heinz and Mattel to brands just getting started. And I'm telling you, their tools really do feel like you have a business partner. They have hundreds of ready-to-use templates to help build a beautiful online store that matches your brand. You can also get the word out like you have an entire marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And if you get stuck, Shopify is always there to help with their award-winning 24/7 customer service. It's time to turn those what-ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/justice. Go to shopify.com/justice. That's shopify.com/justice. Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised. My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today, I'm discussing the case of DeOrr Kunz Jr. In July of 2015, 2-year-old DeOrr vanished without a trace during a family camping trip in Idaho. For years, this case has been shrouded in mystery, swirling with unanswered questions, shifting theories, and heartbreaking dead ends. But now, over a decade later, new information has come to light. This is the case of DeOrr Kunz Jr. It's the afternoon of Thursday, July 9th, 2015 in Idaho Falls, and high school sweethearts Jessica Mitchell and Vernal DeOrr Kunz Sr. are headed about 125 miles northwest to a very remote campground near Leadore, Idaho in Lemhi County. It's really kind of a last-minute trip, but they managed to make it work. They also have their 2-year-old son, DeOrr Jr. in tow. They pack up their black truck with everything they need for the camping trip. And of course, DeOrr's favorite blanket, monkey, and cup that he didn't go anywhere without. They won't be alone at the campsite. Jessica's grandfather, Robert Walton, or Grandpa Bob, along with his friend, Isaac Reinwand, are already up at the site. So there'll be 5 people total, 4 adults and baby DeOrr. According to private investigator Philip Klein, Jessica and Vernal stopped to grab some pizza and Cokes before making their last stint of the drive to the actual campground. He says that he's seen the receipts for this stop, and this is actually brand new information that came out shortly before this episode airs. I feel like I might already be going a little overboard on the proof of everything already, but because this case is so highly debated and because there's been so much speculation, I want to make sure I'm telling you guys where this information is coming from as I tell it to you, so bear with me. Now, the rest of their journey is the hardest. It's not an easy drive to the campsite. You can't really go much faster than 20 miles per hour, and you really need an SUV, a truck, or some type of all-terrain vehicle to make it from the nearest town, Leadore, up to the site. Even then, it still takes about 15 to 30 minutes depending on how fast you drive and the conditions of the road. So this isn't really the most tourist-friendly camping spot, if you will. It's somewhere you really need to know about and plan for. But Jessica and Vernal do just fine in their truck and make it to the campsite after sunset. So it's dark. but they manage to make it up and find the rest of their party. It really is a beautiful spot. The campsite itself is rather small and has been described as a sagebrush flat along a creek that's basically enclosed by mountains. On one side of the campsite, there's a large hill, and according to reporting by Nate Eaton for East Idaho News, there's actually another group camping up on the hill, but they're far enough away that Jessica, Vernal, Grandpa Bob, and Isaac don't even know that they're there. In fact, until just recently, it was widely reported that no one else was in the area that day. But other than that, as far as we know, there's no one else camping in this area. Now, on the other side of the campground, there's about an 8 to 10 foot pretty steep slope leading down to a shallow creek. And then, like I said, everywhere else, they're kind of boxed in by mountains. But again, they get there after dark, so they're not really taking in the beauty of the campsite. It seems like they don't do much other than just go to sleep. DeOrr and his parents sleep in the back of Grandpa Bob's blue Chevy Blazer. Grandpa Bob sleeps in his camper, and Isaac Reinwand sleeps in his own tent. The next morning, Friday, July 10th, everyone wakes up and just has some breakfast. According to statements from Isaac Reinwand, he remembers DeOrr just, quote, clumping around the campsite in his cowboy boots that were a size too big for him. Around noon, Jessica and Vernal take DeOrr to town to grab a few things. They stop at the Stage Stop Junction store in Leadore to grab snacks, some french fries for DeOrr, and some feminine products. The plan was to also refuel their truck, but they were out of diesel. So they head over to Peterson Welding, where they sell diesel apparently. According to statements from law enforcement, multiple witnesses confirmed these stops. After this, they head back up to the campsite. The exact time is unknown, but it's sometime around 1 p.m. When they get back, Isaac, Jessica, and Vernal decide to explore/go fishing. They leave baby DeOrr with Grandpa Bob. Now, it seems like Isaac shows them where he's been fishing on the trip so far, but then he goes to a separate area to fish alone. Jessica and Vernal are only about 100 yards away from the campsite and a nearby picnic table, so they aren't like hiking miles into the wilderness or anything. And it doesn't seem that they're gone for very long. In a later interview, Vernal would state that while he was down at the creek, he saw some small minnows in the water that he thought DeOrr would want to see. So he and Jessica climb back up the hill to the campsite to grab him. But after making this steep climb and getting to the top of the hill, they don't see DeOrr anywhere. And when they ask Grandpa Bob where he is, he says he thought DeOrr was with them.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This episode of Voices for Justice is brought to you by Quince. I've been trying to be more intentional about what I wear each day. I'm leaning into pieces that feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together. And Quince has been my go-to. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are flattering, and everything just works without overthinking it. They use premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra-soft denim. And the best part? Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. I recently just ordered their tiered linen dress, of course in black. I wanted to pair it with one of my favorite pairs of brown wedges. The problem was, I didn't have a brown purse. So I got that from Quince too. It's one of my favorite outfits. It's easy, effortless, and feels amazing, especially as we're getting a little bit warmer here in Phoenix. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice. Baby DeOrr is missing. Jessica and Vernal say that they spend about 20 minutes looking around the campsite and back down to the creek, but they can't find him anywhere. In a variety of interviews, this area has been described as pretty small, and like I mentioned earlier, really enclosed by the surrounding mountains. Vernal has said many times that basically they should have been able to see DeOrr or anyone at the campsite that day from anywhere. He told the East Idaho News, quote, "It's such a small area. That's what a lot of people don't understand. They just assume, how could you let your kid out of your sight? Well, this area is pretty well blocked in, and there's no way you couldn't not see him." End quote. Now, back in 2015, the campsite had horrible cell phone reception. So Vernal jumps in his truck and drives down the road to call 911. He would say later that he just wanted to make sure that when he made the call, it wouldn't be dropped. While he's driving out to get a signal, Jessica's doing the same thing but near the campsite. About 100 yards from the picnic table, she finds service. It's weak, but it's there. Just before 2:30 p.m., Jessica makes the call to 911 to report DeOrr missing. Here is that entire call. It's about 4 minutes long and it's not graphic. So instead of explaining it to you and leaving anything up for interpretation, I'm just going to play it for you here.
2/8/4, July 10, 2015. What's the address of your emergency?
I'm actually camping in Leadore, just outside of Leadore.
Uh-huh.
My 2-year-old son, we can't find him.
What's your name?
Jessica
Jessica who?
Mitchell,
How long has he been missing?
about,
An hour?
yeah,
Are you by water?
yes.
Okay, stay on the phone with me, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to put you on hold. John? Do you know which campground you're in? What?
Timber Creek.
Pardon me?
It's Stone Reservoir, Timber Creek.
Stone Reservoir?
Yeah, or Timber Creek.
Hold on. We need search and rescue. Jessica? Jessica?
Yeah.
What's your son's name?
Or
What is it?
your ORR.
What's his first name?
That's his first name. DeOrr.
Oh. DORR?
OR.
Just ORR? Okay. What is he wearing?
He was wearing cowboy boots, a blue, pair, like pajama pants, and a flannel jacket. And he's got shaggy blonde hair.
How tall is he? Hello?
I'm not exactly sure how. He's about.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Is your husband calling too?
Like all down where we were camping at, and we can't find him at all.
Okay. Hang on. You know how far outside of Leadore you are? What?
It's the turnoff right after like the general store and the post office in Leadore, and it's at Timber Creek.
As you're going up over the pass?
If you're in Leadore and you're at the like gas station, you take the street on the left-hand side, right across the street from the gas station, and go straight out that street.
Is it a paved road?
No.
Okay, as you're headed towards Leadore, you take a right on the street across the street from the gas station.
It would be a left.
A left.
Yeah. And there's a sign that says like Timber Creek and
Okay,
stuff like that.
and you're gonna like from Idaho Falls.
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on just a second. She said you take a left on the street just past the gas station as you're coming in from Idaho Falls. And it says Timber Creek.
Yeah. I know where it is. Yeah.
Okay.
All the just want to make sure they kind of feel stay until that's
Okay, we need you to stay within cell service. We've got people going on the way.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's just a creek about. It's a phone of the fire diameter after higher level.
And you keep us updated with anything that's going on, okay?
Okay.
All right. Don't go away from cell service.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Again, as you could hear, Jessica didn't have the best connection, but she was able to get the message across that her child was missing. And the Lemhi County Sheriff's Office jumped into action immediately. They're also assisted by the Salmon Police Department and Salmon Search and Rescue. According to a variety of statements from law enforcement and the adults at the campsite, everyone really thought that this would be a run-of-the-mill, a child wandered away from their campsite type of call, that they'd find DeOrr pretty quickly. Now, I think it's worth noting that according to statements from Vernal, DeOrr was small for his age, but he moved very well and pretty quickly when he wanted to. But he and Jessica also say that DeOrr didn't usually stray away from them. Like a lot of 2-year-olds, they say that he was pretty clingy to his parents. So they did find it odd that he would wander away. But we know that it's not uncommon for kids to do so. It happens. Within a few hours, about 70 people were in the area looking for DeOrr, and they scour that campsite with a fine-tooth comb. This team quickly grows to 170 people. Of course, one of the most immediate concerns was that DeOrr may have gotten into the creek and possibly drowned. It's only about knee-deep and it's slow-moving, but it's also loud. Kids can slip under the water in seconds without making a noise. So after they confirm that DeOrr is not at the campsite, the creek is obviously the next priority for them. And they have teams in there on their stomachs, on their hands and knees wading through for any sign of DeOrr. They also saw out some of the logs and remove brush piles in the area to increase visibility, but they don't find anything. Not DeOrr, not his oversized cowboy boots, his blue pajama pants, or his camouflage jacket. Now, I'm about to throw some names at you, but I promise that they are all important. Lemhi County Sheriff Lynn Bowerman assigns Chief Deputy Steve Penner to really head up the search. Penner begins trying to coordinate even more resources for the search. And pretty quickly, he's able to get a canine unit to the area to help track DeOrr's scent. They track it to the nearby Stone Reservoir, which is also often called the Timber Creek Reservoir. I've seen them kind of used interchangeably, but they are the same place. It's across the road from the campsite, so divers begin searching in that body of water as well. But by the end of the day, they don't find anything that helps them get any closer to finding DeOrr. Through the weekend, there were close to 200 people out there looking. It's an all-hands-on-deck situation. They have search teams on foot, dogs, ATVs, horses, and a helicopter with infrared cameras and night vision. This was from Two Bear Air out in Montana, and it was very advanced for its time. A searcher and Vernal have discussed how it spotted an orange insect repellent can by the creek from hundreds of feet in the air. This helicopter flew around the area extensively in the daytime and in the dark. It also flew over the reservoir, which has been described as pretty shallow but clear. But again, nothing was found. By Sunday, they'd searched about 2.5 miles surrounding the campground and had to begin turning away more volunteers because they couldn't organize and track them all. There were so many resources, a ton of volunteers, and an immense amount of passion, but still no DeOrr. By Monday, his case finally hit the media as local newspapers began picking up his story. Local reporter for the East Idaho News, Nate Eaton, obtained one of the first interviews with Vernal and Jessica. It's long, about 15 minutes, but this is a case with a lot of speculation against these parents. I think it's best that you hear it from them directly versus my interpretation of what they said. So here it is.
All right, Dio, so take us back. Was it Friday?
Yeah. I'm not sure what day it is today.
Today's Monday. It was Friday.
It was Friday.
Friday about 2:26 is when was it 2:26?
It was 2:36 when I called.
It was 2:36 is when she called, and I was in the truck hauling down to the road to try and get service because I didn't think one bar would get it. So she got very, very lucky. I was blessed that she was able to get service because I didn't want to try and risk getting halfway through my talking to the 911 and have it cut off. So I went down to where I knew I can get a little service about a half mile down the road. We searched for, after about 20 minutes and in a dead panic, not knowing where he was in such a small area and not knowing, never being there, I knew I was in trouble. So we decided to call search and rescue. And that's when I drove down. She tried getting a signal out. As soon as I got a hold of them, they told me that she was on the other line with them and they had our location and they were on our way. They were amazing. They are amazing and they still continue to be. Lemhi County Sheriff and Salmon Search and Rescue, you could not ask for a better group of people, volunteers and search and rescue and just everybody. You couldn't ask for better people. So sincere, so concerned. And everybody was so emotionally attached to this, as anybody would be of a 2-year-old. He's pretty small for his age, but he moves pretty good. And that was our concern. He was right with us. Where it's at is, I thought it would be perfect to go camping there because it's enclosed by walls of mountains and there's not much space around there that he could go. And our biggest concern was the creek, which was knee deep, few feet wide, but he's a little guy. They finally, yesterday, we were able to put that to rest, and Lemhi County Sheriff, Sheriff Dave, and the rest of the sheriffs have put out that they assured me there is 100% chance that he is not anywhere in that water, around that water. They have torn that creek upside down and in and out. Divers have gone through wetsuits, along with the helicopter. That was the world's most advanced search and rescue helicopter, volunteered out of Montana. And those guys were just amazing. The accuracy they had with the night vision ability it has and the heat range it can see. The one guy, I can't remember his name. I've met so many people, so many good people, but his own safety, he was more or less, he was strapped in and he was on the side of that helicopter looking, and he was looking down. I remember them telling me that they asked the search and rescue to go look over because there was an orange insect repellent can, they think, by the bank, and they were dead on. That's what it was. That's how accurate these guys are.
They thought it might have been like a part of a shoe or something, but they said, go check that out.
That these guys search miles. So the mile radius they have it is a very rocky terrain. It is very open, but it's not the helicopter that is used to back very deep Montana. It is designed for a lot worse situations than this. And there was not a trace of my son found. There still isn't, but the search is on. That's the hearsay of things has kind of gotten way out of hand. The search is so far has been put on that has been suspended, and that is not entirely sure or true. Sheriff Dave of Lemhi County, I just spoke with him on the phone this morning. He has got horseback riders and trackers up there right now, and very, very advanced professionals. I'll be going up and I've just come down to get any resource I can get to go back up today. What questions did you guys have?
Tell us a little bit about, first of all, how are you guys holding up? I know a lot of people are praying for you. They're concerned.
Friends and family, and hoping to be strong for him.
Us is what's, I know, keeping me together, because if we didn't have all of our family, the minute I called my mom and she was up there in a matter of hours, and same with the rest of our family, they were just up there around us.
Luckily, a few phone calls is all it took at first. And we had, just as Sheriff Davis said in the news, there was 175 plus people up there in the grid searches, volunteers, professionals, and anybody I called. There's the service up there is very here, there. It's camping, you know. We're trying to hold up the best we can, but we have hope is the thing. Hope is what keeps it going. Hope is because the search is not over. Search is not done. We will find him. No matter what.
You were in the truck, so was it you that first realized, oh no, DeOrr's not?
No, we both did.
No, we both did.
After 20 minutes of up and down the creek and up and around the camp, and he wasn't there, that's when I got in my pickup truck and drove down the road to try and get some service.
Yeah, especially after screaming his name. We have nicknames for him. No sound of him.
This little
no
boy
crying.
is not. He's a goer and a mover, but he's not. He does not go away from his parents. He does not.
Yeah, he's very attached
So this
to
is
us.
very unusual.
Very, very unusual, sir.
And we didn't hear people around us. We didn't see anybody.
Have you told them about the EMT bag? That needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I know social media can be a good thing, but it can also
that's the
we just
one
don't
of the
want
walls we're
anything
going up against.
twisted.
Yeah, you don't want to twist it. So clear up any rumors that you've seen or heard. Or
One thing that
we
concerned
want
me.
to get to that. Most of the biggest rumors that are going around is, I mean, I have heard everything from why you would make a rumor that has to do with a 3-year-old is if you're not going to help, please don't. If it's not helpful,
Yeah,
it's just, this is a 2, almost 3-year-old we're talking about. Please help us. But I've heard everything from I am a truck driver. I've heard everything from my company. It won't let me come home off the road to look for my son. I was there the entire time, and my employer, 4 hours after my son went missing, has been up there day and night, has not slowed down. And that one bothered me, and then they got worse, and they got worse, and they got worse. But that's a handful of bad with a bunch of good. The amount of support is very overwhelming, and it's good.
Are there any rumors that you've seen or anything you want to clear up, Jessica?
Somebody at the store, Leadore said, it was one of the ladies that had worked at the store, said that they saw a gentleman and a younger blonde boy matching our description of our son, really filthy, buying candy for him, and he was just bawling in a black truck. That is the only.
Here's the problem. My pickup
he
truck's
drives
black.
The black truck.
As a family, we went down to get a few things.
So
it was earlier that day.
But they claim it was at 6:00 that evening, and we were search and rescue until 3:45.
Yeah,
we haven't left the camp since 1:00 that afternoon. So it's just a lot of hearsay. And
was anybody camping around you?
That we don't know. I come to find I didn't know the area, and I didn't know it's very open, but you can't see much. There's a road that goes up and along the top. We're camped underneath the reservoir, basically right below it, and you can go up above the reservoir. And I didn't even know the road was I didn't know the road was up there. And as I traveled up there myself, I come to find out I can see everything going on in that campsite, but you can't see out. You can't see up. You can't see around. And if anybody comes to the bottom of your campground, you can't even see who they are.
So they could have come into your.
They could have came in, and you couldn't never know it. And with the water was not a fast running. It's a creek, but it is quite loud moving through the logs and things like that. So hearing range is not all that far either. So you couldn't hear anybody coming up either.
So he was just kind of playing, and you guys were doing your thing, and then you noticed.
He was playing. He was playing with Grandpa. He was getting ready for a nap. I say it was almost. By that time, it was almost 2, and he usually takes his nap. We decided we were going to go a little exploring. He was going to be good with Grandpa by the campfire. We weren't more than probably 50 yards away in 10 minutes. But the time I seen him to the point I figured out he was gone. And I come back up in the creek, and I'd actually seen there were some things down by the little minnows and I thought he would just love. So when I come back up to get him, and I yelled over to Grandpa, where's little DeOrr? He immediately shocked. He says, he came up to you because it's such a small area. That's what a lot of people, they don't understand, is they just assume, how could you let your kid out of your sight? This area is pretty well blocked in, and you can see, there's no way you couldn't not see him in what we thought. And in a split second, your whole world is upside down and vanished. There's not a trace found. That's the other reason why this has been called on the news as a suspension, because it is not a suspension, but there's not a single trace of him. This child loses stuff. He's 2, almost 3. Anybody who has a child in that age range knows. They leave trails. They lose stuff.
Shoes
nothing.
Anything.
There's just nothing. And that's where we're starting to move, is there's a possibility that he may be with somebody, and that's what's giving us hope that it's a bad thing that he will be not with us right now, but it also means that there is a good chance that he is alive and with somebody. So we were trying every aspect we can, any aspect we can.
Is that what your gut tells you, as his
Yes.
father?
Yeah.
As his father, I believe, and I think after being up there, and a lot of people agree with me, a lot, that he is no longer up the mountain anymore. The searching advances they used and was just very thorough for miles. It wasn't a stone left unturned. There still isn't, and still we're going to continue to search. But being his father also, that's where my heart and my gut tell me, but I'm not sure. So that's where I'm asking the public's help. Anything. The Lemhi County Sheriff is who's handling this, but they're not designed for systems quite like this. They've got 2 phone lines, and please be patient. They're doing the best they can, and we all are, and we will find him.
Do you plan to maybe hold a vigil down here? I guess you maybe have thought about it, or kind of, do you want the community in Idaho Falls to rally? I mean, I know they don't want a lot of people going up.
That's what we're not real sure. I don't, yet again, as a father who's very concerned with the whole family, we'll tell you, yes, if we can get the whole state of Idaho up there, we would love to. But in such a small area that has been combed and combed and combed, something may have been missed, but I don't know. I'm going to be getting with the Lemhi County Sheriff and the salmon search and rescue to see what their thoughts on everything is. And trust me, with such a small area, 175 people, there was nowhere to park, nowhere to walk. There was grid searches up from one, and there's ridges on one side of you and the other, and they're not very far apart. And there was all searched all the way down to the bottom, all the way above the reservoir. The reservoir itself, a lot of people know the place. The reservoir itself isn't but maybe a few feet deep. You can see, if you're up on top, you can see the bottom of the center. If you're looking at the middle of the reservoir, you can see the bottom of it. So everything has been 100% thoroughly checked, but nobody can guarantee me 100%, so I'm going to keep looking.
We'll continue to look until he's found. We don't care how long it takes. We think as many people that have shared the story and continue to share his pictures and things like that, if somebody has him, they'll eventually
somebody will come forward wondering where this child has come from
with some sort of
and
information.
That may not be the case, but it could be. So that's why we're trying to look at this aspect as well.
And you want people to keep sharing that
Yes.
photo.
Yes,
Keep
please
sharing photos,
keep sharing his photo. Please keep him in your mind, your hearts, and your prayers, and just keep your eyes open, please. Social media in general, in public, just keep your eyes open and keep sharing.
Tell me about the blanket.
This is his blanket. He doesn't go anywhere without his blanket, his cup, or his monkey. And all 3 of them were left at the campground. And
all 3 has to be with him.
Yes.
He will trip over them if he has to, but they are going with him. And this is the first time since he's been born, pretty much, he hasn't been without these things.
Yeah.
And that's why another reason
why we're wondering.
Yes, because
and
this is the blanket that we brought him home in from the hospital. This is what comforts him any and all times.
This is an exact replica of a security blanket for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
This is his actual blanket. He does not go anywhere without it. That's our other concern of why.
Yeah.
Should he be out there and happen to see this? What would you say?
We're looking for you, son, and we will find you. And we love you more than anything in the world. You have a lot of people who love you and are looking for you. Buddy will find you.
We'll
Daddy
never
will
stop
find you.
looking until we get you a home.
I've got a 2-year-old, and you guys have been on my phone the past 2 days. Is there anything you want to add? Anything we didn't get to?
Just if somebody has him, please don't hurt him. Just bring him home safely to us.
No matter what it
where
takes.
he belongs. Even if you have to just leave him at a store where somebody else will see him and bring him home safely to us.
Just drop him off.
Yeah, just drop him off somewhere
And if
where
that's not the case,
somebody is at so that they can see him and bring him home.
and if that may not be the case, we will search for you and search for you and search for you until we find you. No matter how long it takes, no matter what we got to overcome, we will find you, son.
This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you have pets, you probably know about Chewy, and you also know that when they say that they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. I've been shopping with them for a very long time. And in addition to the auto-ship feature that gets the dog's food to them every single month, I also love to experiment with different treats. But I'm a bit picky. For me, it has to be high quality with simple ingredients. I recently picked up treats from Shepherd Boy Farms that are 100% just chicken breast. Popcorn and Heber are already obsessed. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
That night, a vigil was held for DeOrr at a local park, where the community came together to really rally around Jessica and Vernal. But online, there was a huge storm brewing. Countless people began to accuse them of being involved in DeOrr's disappearance. And really, there's no denying that it's still one of the most popular theories in his case to this day. Many people specifically targeted Jessica, saying that she just wasn't acting how they expected her to. She wasn't sad enough, she wasn't crying enough. They thought that she was cold. And that led people to speculate that she may have done something to DeOrr, or possibly have been involved in helping cover up some type of accident at the campsite. Now, law enforcement initially described Jessica, Vernal, Bob, and Isaac as cooperative, and eventually even issued a statement to remind the public that they should rely on information from the sheriff's office and really steer away from online rumors and speculation. They added that while none of them were considered suspects at this point, they were all considered persons of interest and being investigated. Now, adding even more fuel to this fire, it was reported that cadaver dogs hit on the scent of human remains at the reservoir. But this was later ruled out as someone came forward to say that before they became aware of DeOrr's case, they spread a loved one's ashes into the water, which led the cadaver dogs to hit in that spot. At this point, just a few days into the case, aside from theories about the family or Isaac being involved, the only other leading possibilities were that DeOrr may have succumbed to some type of tragic accident, or that he was abducted by someone who came into the campsite unseen that day. Now, please know that I will fully get into all the accusations against every adult at the campsite, but we have a lot to go over, so I just want to try to stay in chronological order as best as I can. So let's pause here and take a second to talk about these two specific theories. First, let's talk about the possibility that maybe this was an accident. I will say that the searches for DeOrr were very comprehensive, and you heard Vernal say that he was told that DeOrr was not in the surrounding bodies of water. So if there was some type of accident, it feels like it would have had to happen far from that campsite. Or that maybe some type of animal possibly found him and dragged him to another location. In this area, there are bears, wolves, mountain lions, and more. Many predators that might be looking for prey around DeOrr's size. Now, while this campsite was pretty enclosed by these mountains, obviously there are ways in and out. Only one road. But on foot, the possibilities are a lot more open. Many people have discounted the idea that DeOrr could have gotten very far because of his age. Again, he was 2 at this time, and the fact that he was wearing these oversized cowboy boots. But I don't know. This is just speculation, but as someone who has cared for, babysat, and been around a lot of rowdy 2-year-olds, In my experience, they can be pretty fast and resilient when it comes to things like climbing and even falling. I, and more importantly, experts and members of law enforcement, have never fully ruled out that theory, that DeOrr could have traveled a considerable distance on foot. I mean, we hear stories like that all the time where a kid wanders away into the wilderness and is found miles from where they first went missing. It's not super common, but it definitely happens. So it does seem possible that DeOrr could have gotten away pretty quickly, maybe had some type of accident, or been attacked by an animal. Now let's talk about the stranger abduction theory. This is definitely less popular due to how remote the campsite was, and the fact that there was only one road leading in and out. But if DeOrr wandered away, it's entirely possible that someone saw him and grabbed him in that very short window of time, especially given that Grandpa Bob didn't really seem to know that he was supposed to be watching DeOrr and his physical state in general. Now, Robert Walton, or Grandpa Bob, was in his 70s in 2015, and he didn't move very well. He also used oxygen at this time, so as far as I can tell, he's not really getting up and running anywhere, let alone actively chasing around a 2-year-old. He was also pretty prone to falling asleep just about anywhere at this time. Some people say he could fall asleep mid-conversation, so many people have theorized that he could have fallen asleep when DeOrr went missing. So could he have fallen asleep while someone grabbed DeOrr? I mean, it's possible. At the top of this episode, I told you that until just a few weeks before this episode airs, it was widely reported that no one else was in the area camping at this time. But according to that more recent coverage from the East Idaho News, there was another camping party up the hill not too far away. Not much is known about this party, and I have to imagine that they've been checked out by law enforcement. My point is, it seems clear that there could have been people nearby without anyone at DeOrr's campsite noticing. I think it's also worth noting that Jessica has said that while they were at the Stage Stop Junction store hours before DeOrr went missing, she saw a man who she described as staring eerily at DeOrr. It seems like he basically just creeped her out. Now, as far as I could find, no one was able to find this man, or any witnesses to back up this story. Not law enforcement, and not any of the private investigators on DeOrr's case. So take that for what you will. But all of that to say that this was the general conversation around DeOrr's case at this time. There were a lot of theories, but most people were laser focused on Jessica and Vernal. Of course, the investigation persisted, and pretty soon as DeOrr's case picked up more traction in the media, the Lemhi County Sheriff's Office was swamped with people calling in to say that they'd seen DeOrr all around the world, though none of those sightings ever panned out. This is a pretty small sheriff's office, so it didn't take them long to request the help of the FBI and the Bonneville County Sheriff's Office that same month. DeOrr's case has also been worked by a handful of private investigators who have greatly shaped how it's been analyzed and perceived by the public. The first PI was Frank Vilt. He begins investigating in August 2015. He's a retired U.S. Marshal who spent 19 years with the service and specialized in cases of missing children, so he seems very qualified to help find DeOrr. He also had a personal connection to Vernal dating back to before DeOrr went missing. He initially believed that DeOrr was abducted, but he's also someone that I want to be very careful about paraphrasing or taking out of context. So I want you to hear from him directly. I promise you guys it'll all make sense by the end of my coverage about DeOrr. So here is a snippet of an early interview that he gave to the East Idaho News, who, by the way, did an excellent job of following this case in 2015.
The fact that it's a remote campground, and the fact that DeOrr Jr. had cowboy boots on that was too big for him, so he would walk out of them if he tried to run, particularly on rough terrain. And so what alarmed me is that when the search began, the search didn't take that long to begin once he was reported missing. Several people showed up for the initial search. And there was no cowboy boots found. There was no clothing found. And that alarmed me that with the number of people searching and he couldn't find anything, they couldn't find anything that would say that he was there. The search dogs, cadaver dogs, as well as the search dogs, couldn't find anything. They couldn't be on scent and find anything. There were some wolf dens that was searched, bear den was searched, and nothing was found. So this tells me that he probably was not called off by an animal. And he couldn't have gone that far, being 2 years old in that type of terrain. If he wandered off, he probably would have been found. So there's an army. Well, that sounds kind of fishy to me. I always like to think outside the box. And so that's why even Sheriff Bowerman said that he probably was not abducted, but maybe a possibility. And so the Sheriff's Department and Lemhi County, as well as Bonneville County, had to do their job. They suspect the parents. And I knew, knowing DeOrr personally from my association from before in Montpelier, that I could never imagine him doing anything like that, because he loved his son. That was his son. That was his blood. That was his heart. That was his life. That the parents would not be involved in anything sinister. So you start looking at the other people involved who was at the campground. Look at the grandfather. The grandfather was in ill health, on oxygen. The other gentleman, Isaac, who was there, he was a person of interest. So I think outside the box. So I think there has to be another possibility. And I'd rather think that I feel that he was abducted. Everything points to an abduction.
Why wasn't an Amber Alert issued?
Didn't fit the entire criteria for an Amber Alert. There was no vehicle they could give. There's no mother or father or suspect that they could name as being with. So this is why it didn't fit the criteria. And don't get me wrong, the Sheriff's Office in Lemhi County did their very best. The search coordinator was a good man. He had prior law enforcement experience in Nevada before he coming up to Lemhi County. Excuse me. So these guys are seasoned veterans, and they want to find the boy. The whole end result was to find the boy. And so they're not going to do anything to be counterproductive. But I just think that there has to be, now there's been yesterday a month from the time he was missing, there has to be another scenario. And we have to look at other possibilities. So that's why I wanted hopefully to go nationwide. We have a nationwide telephone number for tips. I was hoping that people might say, well, the so-and-so couple didn't have a boy last week. Now they have a boy. Where did the boy come from? That's unusual. Anything like that could be as a good tip.
You mentioned one of the first things law enforcement does is narrow in on if there may be potential suspects, the parents, the grandfather, the friend. And thus far, no suspects have been named. In the majority of cases, of abductions, is it normally somebody that knows the child, or is it a stranger?
Normally, it could be a friend of the family. It's like normally break-ins, house burglaries, is somebody has been there before, and then it's their friend is there. With DeOrr's mom and dad, of course, they're suspect. They think maybe there was an accident, and they decided to cover the accident up because they couldn't explain the accident. So let's just bury the body and say he was abducted or he's just missing. We have no idea. That investigation was a zero. There was no probability in that. So they want to do the people they have in hand first to investigate, because sometimes there are sinister crimes that occur.
Have the parents been completely cooperative with investigators?
Absolutely. I've talked to Lemhi County deputies. I've talked to Bonneville County here in this jurisdiction, and they've been very cooperative, very forthright. Nothing to hide.
One of the things that has really been maybe different with this case compared to a missing child 4 or 5 years ago is social media. And I don't know how closely you followed it, but there has been, you name a rumor, it's been there. How is that impacting the family and the investigation? Does it?
Well, it may not hurt the investigation, but it hurts the family, especially when you're accusatory. And you say, well, I wouldn't have done that. Or, if it's my kid, I wouldn't have put camouflage pants on him exactly, because it only hurts more. Those people are just agitators, just like Ferguson, Missouri, same thing, agitated. They want to agitate because nothing better to do, instead of concentrating on what the real possibility may be and really helping. Now, when I was up in Lemhi County, I've interviewed people who were on the sex register list to clear them.
Were they cleared?
They were clear, yes. And I checked everything that could possibly be. Maybe duplication of what the sheriff did, and I try not to impede investigation. And I always tell the sheriff's office where I'm going to be and what I'm going to do. So if they have a problem with it, that they would tell me, let me know, particularly if they were working a particular theory. But it was fine, go ahead.
And what have they been telling you? Have they been giving you the information?
They didn't share exactly their investigative results, but all indications are we're here to try to find a child.
Why have the parents been so quiet?
Of course, a few people out there in the social media have accused them of doing things, and my advice to DeOrr and to Jessica was to cooperate, keep the hope, and I told him, I think your boy is probably still alive out there. It's better to think he's alive when somebody has him rather than, well, he's dead, but we don't know where the body is. Particularly, you look into a mother's eyes with her children missing, that's real. And I don't think the parents did anything that any normal parents would be involved with going to a camping trip. I mean, everybody's pointing to it was with the grandfather. I thought it was the parents, and that was here and there. Things happen. And I don't think anything was planned, that if anything sinister happened, this was just a possibility of somebody who was lurking in the shadows.
Now, if you want to hear that entire interview and even more, I definitely encourage you to check out the East Idaho News YouTube channel. They have all of these interviews and even more from the past decade. But I think you get the point with what I played you there. Frank Vilt is firmly on the side of the family at this point and is investigating a possible stranger abduction. And not too long after, in September 2015, a new tip came in that pointed to that theory. A photo of a child was found at a Motel 6 in Stanton, California, and it was widely circulated on social media as people speculated that it was DeOrr. But after that lead was investigated, the child was identified, and he was not DeOrr.
What they did to your family, you're lucky to make it out alive.
Streaming on Peacock.
These men are going to come after me. Taking them out is my only chance.
Put a bullet in her head. From the co-creator of Ozark.
Looks like a family was running drugs.
Execution-style killing is rare for the Keys. Any leads on who they might have been running for?
The cartel killed my family. I'm gonna kill them. All of them.
MIA. Streaming now. Only on Peacock.
It's been about 2 months since 2-year-old DeOrr Kunz Jr. went missing, and winter is coming fast, which is obviously terrible news for those still searching for him. In October, they conduct the final organized search of the campground. Their hope is to find something that they may have overlooked before snow begins to fall in the area. But again, like every other search, there's no trace of DeOrr anywhere. That same month, a series of billboards featuring DeOrr's picture and basic information about his case were put up across eastern Idaho. And in November, his family hires another private investigator. His name is Philip Klein. In an interview with Chelsea Brenzel for KIFI Local News 8, he expressed his theories about what may have happened to DeOrr, and they are vastly different from what you just heard from Frank Vilt.
We've come to the conclusion that beyond a reasonable doubt that we do not believe DeOrr Kunz is alive. We believe that this case, we are now investigating this case as an accidental or an intent death.
Do you think it's likely that you will be able to find a body?
I'm not willing to speculate. That's called crystal balling the case. I'm not willing to crystal ball the case. We're just letting the case take us where it takes us. Do I believe we see light at the end of the tunnel in this case? Yes, I believe we're getting there quickly. I'm kind of surprised how fast this case has gone. I thought it might go a little further, but we seem to be making strides in a lot of headway right now.
So do you have a central theory that you're following up on?
Yes, we do have a central theory that we are following up on. Where we are we've established that theory last Friday night in the war room down here in Texas. The investigators all got together and we have come to the same conclusion. It was a 9-0 vote. We have sent our findings on to law enforcement. As publicly said by the sheriff's department up there, new evidence has come forward, and this case is very fluid at this point. So we are there. We are getting there. I can't say enough about the FBI. where you folks live out there. I can't say enough about the law enforcement in Leadore and also up in Idaho Falls. I can't say enough about these guys. These guys are dedicated folks. Our team is dedicated, and we're going to bring the citizens of Idaho the answers they're asking.
A lot of people, of course, on social media have all these questions, all these theories, and I know you've talked a little bit about that, but one of the things that we see a lot is that they say, we need to bring in Jessica and DeOrr, and we need to question them. But they've already, I mean, that's happened.
I can confirm that the parents have been interviewed by the United States Department of Justice, FBI. They have been interviewed by the Sheriff's Department at Leadore, and they have been interviewed by the Sheriff's Department in Idaho Falls, and they have been interviewed by our firm. That's the only statement I can make to you, the public, right now, as we are going through and we're analyzing those statements.
As far as the results of those analysis coming together, you can't probably say anything about that.
No, currently at this time, it's part of the timeline of this case. We have established a good and clean timeline, and anything we make statements on what someone had said or someone had done would be inappropriate at this time. We are moving towards a prosecutorial phase in this case, and we don't want to jeopardize the case for law enforcement. Again, like I said, they are dedicated people, and they're working very hard on this.
And one thing that I do know that you've said is that you 99% feel that he was on the mountain. Does that mean that he was at the campsite or just on the mountain? Or can you say?
Let me be clear about what I'm saying. I want to be very, very clear with everybody in the media, okay?
Okay.
My belief is, and our team's belief is, DeOrr is on the mountain or near the mountain. I will say this. We have interviewed the father. We have interviewed the mother. We have interviewed the grandfather. We have not interviewed Isaac Renoir. He has hired a counsel, which is his right to do. He has hired counsel. We have extended an arm and friendship to the counsel and saying, let's bring him in a room. You can sit there and you can tell him to answer or not to answer, but let's hear his story. Let's hear his story. And we have not heard his story yet. We need to hear his story. And so far, we've been blocked from doing that. In fact, we have not even received a return phone call.
Now, this reporter, again, Chelsea Brensel with KIFI Local News 8, was the first person to break the story about DeOrr going missing. So she's incredibly invested. She also does try to track down Isaac Reinwand, but wasn't able to. Just because we have had so much to cover, I haven't talked about him much up to this point. And I promise I will discuss him more later. But I think it's important to note here that while he did appear to know and be friends with Bob for quite some time, having taken a few camping and fishing trips together, the trip with DeOrr was the first time he met him or his parents. They never spent any time together before that trip. And around this time, in the winter of 2015, he and Bob had stopped talking. Now, I do want to take a moment and jump back into this interview with Philip Klein. Here, they begin to talk about the impact that social media is making on DeOrr's case early on.
Well, what I have to say to the people out on social media are a few things. Number one, some of the people out there in social media have hindered this case. Witnesses have come forward after and only after they received assurances that their identities would remain anonymous, number one, and number two, that their information would remain anonymous. And so, once we were able to give them that assurance, they were scared their names and their information would be splashed up on Facebook. And that has happened in some cases from leaks from family members to people that have nothing to do with this case that don't even live in Idaho. This case is a national case. So I guess my message that I'm trying to send to the people of Idaho, if not the United States and beyond, people in England and all around that are watching this case, is simply, before you write something and then you push that little button that sends it out for the world to see it, let's take a step back and take a breath and think about what the main objective here is that's finding little DeOrr, and not to scare witnesses and not to put false conjecture out on the internet that something should happen to, let's say, the parents or the grandparents or Mr. Renlaw or the police or, in fact, our firm. We're trying to say, take a step back. Let us, as the PSV investigators, do our job. Let law enforcement do their job. Let the prosecution do their job. Give everybody just a little bit of room here. We're all working hard towards getting to the end of this. Social media has hurt this case, yet it has also helped this case. Social media is a very dangerous place. After all, you can, everything you read on the internet is right? So that's kind of the message we're sending out there, that everything you read on the internet, folks, is not necessarily true. Everything on the internet out there is sometimes false. So before you take it as fact and the gospel, take a step back and think about it and make a decision whether or not that you really want to say something. Words mean things, and words can hurt people, and words can hurt this investigation. So take a step back. That's all we're asking, is just take a step back. Think about what you're going to say and give everybody some room to do their jobs.
So again, we have a few different theories here from these different private investigators. But the common thread is that they don't seem to have any suspicions about Jessica or Vernal. They seem to be really going as far as to defend them in these media interviews. But as 2015 comes to a close without any more answers about what happened to baby DeOrr, the tide really begins to change in this case. In January 2016, PI Frank Vilt publicly announces that he's resigning from the case. He says Jessica and Vernal lied and misrepresented the facts. And Lemhi County Sheriff Lynn Bowerman publicly names Jessica Mitchell and Vernal Kunz as suspects. He says he believes that DeOrr's case should be investigated as a homicide. I'll be discussing that and more in part 2 of my coverage of DeOrr's case next week. As a reminder, 2-year-old DeOrr Kunz Jr. was last seen on July 10, 2015, near Leadore, Idaho in Lemhi County. He has hazel eyes, and at that time blonde hair. He was approximately 3 feet tall and weighed about 30 pounds. He was last seen wearing cowboy boots, a camouflage jacket, and blue pajama pants. Anyone with information is asked to call the Lemhi County Sheriff's Office at 208-756-8980. But, as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice.